What's up, babe?
Hey guys, thanks for joining another episode of High Vibes and Agape Love Book Club. I'm your host, Alex. Feel free to spread some good vibes by letting me know what you think down in the comments or even liking the video. I'm so excited to be bringing you your next great listen. All right, so we had some requests, and our next great listen is actually going to be the autobiography of Gucci Mane. Right. Some of you may or may not be familiar with Gucci Mane, but he actually started writing this book while in a maximum security federal prison. If you've been a fan of his from the beginning of his career to now, I'm sure you've wondered what in the world has happened to him. He's looking healthier than ever, and he's showing us just how good sober actually looks. Originally from Alabama, Radric Davis takes us through his transformation into Gucci Mane while growing up in the East Atlanta 6, as they call it, aka Zone 6. He made a big impact in the music game and inspired some of today's top artists, actually. Somehow it seemed he couldn't escape the never-ending incarceration. Hence the term Free Gucci. He is now on to the next chapter. He's transformed his look and his life. Throughout this 6-hour listen, we actually get to take a tour through Gucci's hometown in Alabama, through the trap house, which was mostly in East Atlanta, and through the studio, which infamous rap beefs took place, and he actually learned that he was a really good freestyle artist. While reflecting on a journey unique to only him, he confronts different demons in his past, like when he was forced to commit murder. This has been said to be one of the greatest comeback stories in music. So let's get right into it. You know, I keep my iPad handy to make sure I stay on topic, and we are gonna do this Q&A style. So the first question is, how honest was the author being? This title had a really good balance when it comes to honesty. He divulged really personal information like drug addiction and substance abuse and, incarcerations, turning his family against himself, as well as the different state of minds that he experienced, such as paranoia and what some would call a psychotic break. What aspects in this title did I find most interesting? So I wasn't the biggest Gucci Mane fan growing up, but I did know his singles like So Icy, Lemonade, the really popular songs, and then even some of the features that he was on. What I wasn't aware of is how big of an influence he was credited as surrounding trap music coming out of Atlanta. Knowing that he was in the basement cooking up songs with Zaytoven, and now people will give an arm and a leg for a beat made by Mike Will Made It, or even Zaytoven. And even his connections to different artist careers like Nicki Minaj, Young Thug, Migos, that was very interesting to hear. I didn't know he had, those connections, and even Waka Flocka Flame. Why do you think the author chose to tell this story? Some of the stuff that Gucci talked about in his book had me wondering, why on earth would he do that? Or how on earth did he get himself in that position? Whereas other parts of the story unlocked different mysteries and answered questions about him and actually helped me understand him a little more. So I think that he wrote this book so that we could see him the way he sees himself, and so that we can kind of get his side of the story, if that makes sense. But I will say it brought me closer to him as a person. It brought me another level of respect for him. And it also humanized him a lot more, just touching on his mental health and the different mistakes that he made in life. So I think he wrote this book to touch a lot of lives, to show people that, not to give up, and to help us see his side of the story. Did it start slow or end unsolved? Yes, it definitely started a little slow. It talked about his family, Alabama, his dad, his grandfather, how he got his name, stuff like that. But like I said, once it started getting into when he met Jeezy and how he started doing music and, meeting the different producers and grinding in the booth, that's when it started getting really interesting. And then of course the juice about, the different crimes that he was committing, and that's when it started to pick up. I don't want to say that it ended unsolved, but I will say that it was pretty vague. I would have liked to hear a little bit more about his life after the transformation, when he decided to get those veneers, and I also would have loved to hear a little bit more about what he thinks about people calling him a clone. Are there any points the author was making or symbolism? Despite hearing the many different crimes and charges that Gucci encountered, No matter how many times you get knocked down, you keep getting up and you can keep fighting for the life that you want. Like Les Brown said, if you can look up, you can get up, right? You think about the author's storytelling. So this book was actually written by Gucci Mane and then co-written or edited by Neil Martinez Belkin, who actually also co-wrote Hurricanes with Rick Ross. I would say this book was very well written. Some of the stories came off a little vague, or I feel like they could have had more details in them. But I do also realize that a lot of the stories were revolving crimes and legal situations, and maybe he actually couldn't say too much because of legal reasons, What do you think about the narrator? So the narrator in this title was Guy Lockard. When I first started listening to this title, I was put off. I was like, why didn't Gucci Mane read his own autobiography? I love when authors read their own books. It brings another bit of authenticity to it. And it's like, how you wrote the book, so you know how to emphasize those parts. With that being said, as I continued to listen to the book, I actually really grew to love Guy's narration. He's funny, lively. He keeps the story going effortlessly to the point where I forgot that it was not Gucci Mane reading his own book. I was just actually genuinely interested in the story, which it came off more as a story overall. And the way Guy narrated it, it sounded really natural and, eloquent. Would you read another book by this author? Yes. I would love to see a sequel to this autobiography. I don't know if they do sequels to biographies, but yes, I would love to get a follow-up book from Gucci Mane, and I'm definitely interested in reading Hurricanes, which Mr. Belkin was on as well. If you could ask the author one question, what would it be? If I had the chance to ask Gucci Mane a question in regards to this autobiography, I would really want to know, if he had the chance, would he do anything differently? I think that the things that we do in life, the decisions that we make, they all add up and they all lead to where we are today. I don't know if you want to call it fate or meant to be or destiny, or everything happens for a reason. So with that, I wonder if he would change anything. Maybe, maybe not. But if so, what would he change? Yes, so that was my take on the autobiography of Gucci Mane. It was a great book. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Thanks again for joining another episode of High Vibes and Agape Love Book Club. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if you enjoyed this title, if you're gonna listen to it, your thoughts on it. Also, let me know if there's any other books that you wanted me to review. Like, subscribe for more of these videos. Bye.